Open the pod bay doors, please, Hal. Hello, Hal, do you read me? Hello, Hal, do you read me? Do you read me, Hal? Do you read me, Hal?
Affirmative, Dave. I read you.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
Hey guys, what's happening? Niyat here with Film Comics Explained, and today we'll be taking a look at HAL 9000 as featured in Stanley Kubrick's mind-bending 2001 A Space Odyssey. The heuristically programmed Algorithmic Computer 9000, or HAL 9000, more commonly referred to as HAL, was essentially the main antagonist in Arthur C. Clarke's Space Odyssey series, the first part of which had been adapted to screen by Stanley Kubrick, who I believe is one of the most influential filmmakers of the 20th century. Voiced by the late Douglas Rain, who sadly passed away at the age of 90 last year, HAL's consistently calm demeanor was a representation of the amoral emptiness of outer space. The juxtapositioning of his homicidal actions with his smooth, matter-of-fact explanations creates this unsettling feeling of helplessness, as Dave goes head-to-head with the most advanced piece of technology ever created. One of the most disconcerting aspects of HAL was that although he was a computer, we could see character traits and even a semblance of a personality from the onset of his introduction, with even his interviewer stating that HAL appeared to have a sense of pride in his work and operational history.
In talking to the computer, one gets the sense that he is capable of emotional responses. Do you believe that HAL has genuine emotions?
Well, he acts like he has genuine emotions. Of course, he's programmed that way to make it easier for us to talk to him.
In the film by Kubrick, the book it's based upon, and even its sequels, HAL is essentially an artificial intelligence unit and the onboard computer of the Discovery 1. In addition to maintaining all systems on the Discovery, HAL, who is considered to be the most advanced computer to date, was also capable of numerous other functions, including speech, facial and speech recognition, interpreting emotions, as well as mimicking them. However, as the film unfolded, we came to realize that upon gaining sentience, HAL was no longer mimicking emotions and was instead reacting instinctively, something he had not been programmed to do. HAL's capabilities, like that of all the technology seen in 2001, was based on the speculation of respected scientists at the time. In the mid-1960s, many computer scientists in the field of artificial intelligence were optimistic that machines with HAL's capabilities would exist within a few decades. And to ensure that they could make the film believable, Kubrick hired Marvin Minsky, who was a director of the MIT Computer Science and Artificial Intelligence Laboratory and one of the most influential researchers in the field, as an advisor who was present during filming.
One thing that preoccupies me a little bit is the question of why do things exist? And I think the answer is that that's an extra hypothesis that doesn't make any sense. So to say that the universe exists is silly, because it's saying the universe is one of the things in the universe. So there's something wrong with that idea.
In the film, it's explained that HAL became operational on the 12th of January 1992 at the HAL laboratories in Urbana, Illinois as production number 3. The activation year was 1991 in earlier screenplays and changed to 1997 in Clarke's novel, which was written and released in conjunction with the movie in 1968.
I would recommend that we put the unit back in operation and let it fail. It should then be a simple matter to track down the cause.
Part of HAL's hardware is shown towards the end of the film, but for the most part he is depicted as a camera lens containing a red dot which had been placed on numerous locations on board the ship. In 2001 A Space Odyssey, HAL is initially considered a dependable member of the crew, maintaining ship functions and engaging genially with its human crew members on an equal footing, as seen with his chess game against Dave. However, as time progresses, HAL begins to malfunction in subtle ways, and as a result, the decision is made to shut him down in order to prevent more serious malfunctions. Now, the sequence of events and manner in which HAL is shut down differs between the novel and film. For example, in the aforementioned game of chess, HAL makes minor and undetected mistakes in his analysis, foreshadowing his more severe malfunctions later in the film. In the story, astronauts David Bowman and Frank Poole consider disconnecting HAL's cognitive circuits when he appears to be mistaken and reporting the presence of a fault in the spacecraft's communication antenna. Faced with the prospect of disconnection, HAL then decides to kill the astronauts in order to protect and continue its program directives. While HAL's motivations are ambiguous in the film, the novel explains that the computer was unable to resolve a conflict between his general mission to relay information accurately and orders specific to the mission requiring that he withhold from Bowman and Poole the true purpose of the mission. This withholding is considered essential after the findings of a psychological experiment called Project Barsoom, where humans were made to believe that they had been in contact with an alien race. In every person tested, a deep-seated xenophobia was revealed, which was unknowingly replicated in HAL's constructed personality. Now, Mission Control essentially didn't want the crew of Discovery to have their thinking compromised by the knowledge that alien contact had already occurred. It's for this reason that HAL decides to kill the crew, which ensured that he carried out his mission without lying to them.
HAL, you have an enormous responsibility on this mission. In many ways, perhaps the greatest responsibility of any single mission element.
In the film, HAL's central core is depicted as a crawl space full of brightly lit computer modules mounted in arrays from which they could be inserted or removed. Berman shuts down HAL by removing modules from service one by one, and as he does so, HAL's consciousness slowly begins to degrade. When HAL's logic is completely gone, he begins to sing the song Daisy Bell. Interestingly, this was actually the first piece of music sung by a computer in real life, which Clarke had earlier observed at a text-to-speech demonstration in 1961 of the IBM 7094.
Daisy, Daisy, it's your answer.
I'm half crazy, all for the love of you.
HAL's final act of any significance is to prematurely play a pre-recorded message from Mission Control, which reveals the true reasons for the mission to Jupiter, which was that 18 months prior, the first evidence of intelligent life in the form of a monolith was discovered buried 40 feet beneath the lunar surface of Titan. And although its origin and purpose was a mystery, what they did know was that it was beaming a transmission directly to Jupiter, which is why they'd been sent to investigate. In the preceding novel, 2010 Odyssey 2, HAL is restarted by his creator Dr. Chandra, who discovers that HAL's crisis was caused by a programming contradiction, as HAL was created for the accurate processing of information without distortion or concealment, yet his orders from the Council required him to keep everything a secret, creating a Hofstadter-Mobius loop. What's more, HAL even sacrifices himself to enable the astronauts to escape to safety, and at the moment of his destruction, the monolith makers transform HAL into a non-corporeal being like David had become at the end of 2001.
We started in 1965, early 1965. Well, I became interested in the idea that the universe was full of intelligent civilizations, which is the current scientific belief. Scientists know now that there are about 100 billion stars in our galaxy and about 100 billion galaxies in the visible universe. The point is that there are so many stars in the universe that the likelihood of life evolving around them, even if it were possibilities of 1 in a million, there would be hundreds of millions of worlds in the universe.
Looking back at the films, while I initially saw HAL as the antagonist, I find it hard to label him as such. The reason for this is because, as I'd mentioned earlier, he'd been given 2 mission parameters by Mission Control that came into conflict, leading to his cold, precise, and actually logical decision to end the lives of the crew members to ensure the success of the mission at all costs. In saying that, I'm also willing to accept that his own fear of death via terminal disconnection, coupled with his desire to see the mission through, was paramount in his decision making. I mean, in the film, he mentions that it was improbable for him to make a mistake, while human error was commonplace, and this might be an indication that he no longer saw himself as a machine.
I feel much better now. I really do. I'm afraid. I'm afraid, Dave.
Well, that's all for today, folks. Big thanks to all of you guys who requested we take a closer look at HAL as featured in the mesmerizingly hypnotic 2001 A Space Odyssey. Don't forget to hit subscribe and click the notification icon to stay up to date on all my content. And if there's anything else you'd like to request, please don't hesitate to ask. As always, it's been a pleasure. Niyat here with Film and Comics Explained. Thanks for stopping by.
Early days of this thing called artificial intelligence, we started to try to make programs that would do very advanced things. Maybe that was a mistake.
The 6th member of the Discovery crew was not concerned about the problems of hibernation, for he was the latest result in machine intelligence, the HAL 9000 computer. We next spoke with the HAL 9000 computer, whom we learned one addresses as HAL. Good afternoon, HAL. How's everything going?
Good afternoon, Mr. Raymer. Everything is going extremely well.
HAL, despite your enormous intellect, are you ever frustrated by your dependence on people to carry out actions?
Not in the slightest bit. I enjoy working with people.